Oh yeah, well there wouldn't have been a show without him. Little House on the Prairie never would have sold. The pilot would have never sold if it weren't for him. His charisma and his star power is really what sold the show. And that's proven by they tried to do a new one. They tried to replace all of us with little people, little us, and some guy who played Mike's part, and it did nothing. I mean, no one cared. So it really was him. And yes, it was interesting. I learned a lot of things I learned tons of things from him. I learned a lot about acting. I learned a lot about directing. He was like a big brother to me. I also learned that people are flawed. That people have troubles and problems and insecurities like everybody, no matter who you are. And it was a very good lesson to learn early, because I had to then, whether I agreed with him or not, or agreed with some of the things he did or not, I had to work with him every day. He was my boss, and I couldn't act like a child or a teenager and stomp off and say, "You're not my friend anymore." I had to deal with it. So it taught me a great life lesson early, and it was also good. He turned out to be one of those people that could take me from a child to an adult with ease. He didn't seem to have any problem respecting me as an adult. And a lot of times with adults and children, that doesn't happen. They always seem to look down at you. They always seem to remember you only as a child. And so he and I had a great relationship later on. We were friendly before, when I was dating my husband, and I brought a project. My husband and I brought a project to him to produce, and he loved it. He and his new wife at the time, Cindy, came to our wedding, and everything. And Cindy, who had been my stand-in, I mean, that was a whole thing too that I had to get over. But I obviously miss him, and I'm sure everybody does. And there aren't too many, there really are only a handful of actors that have that kind of power that he had, and have that charisma that he had, So sorry, that's a very long answer. I'll just say.
Your favorite memory and your worst memory
Gosh, that's hard. Well, I can answer the favorite memory. It's easier for me to say a favorite episode. And my favorite episode would have been probably the Johnny Cash episode, because I had a whole ton to do with Johnny Cash, and that was really fantastic. And I also thought, of he and his wife June, how great they were as actors. They were really, really good, and that was really interesting and fun. And they were regular people. They treated the entire set was buzzing. The staff from I tell you about the offices, they all came down. Everybody's on the set, to see Johnny Cash and June Carter Cash, and they were the nicest people. And I liked the episode. I liked the whole thing because I like grifter kind of shows and con men and stuff. So that was fun for me. And worst memory is probably one of the worst shows that I talk about in the book. This show we did called The Voice of Tinker Jones, that was really lovingly referred to as the voice of Stinker Jones. And it was terrible, and it was hard, and it was hot, and it was awful. But those are to actually find moments would be really hard. But those are my episodes, best and worst.
Did you want to become an actress when you were little?
Not when I was little. Originally, it was all presented to me, to my parents from a dancing teacher. That's how I ended up acting. By the time I realized what he was talking about, I liked the idea. So it kind of started there when I was about 9. Sure.
Is your kids interested in acting?
Oh no. No. I've discouraged that, and there probably didn't need me to discourage it. My husband and I both. I mean, we're both in the industry. We've both had ups and downs. We both are very creative, wear your heart on your sleeve kind of people that have been beaten down. And, we've also had great highs, I have to say. It's worth every minute of it when you love it, when it's great. I used to say I would do Little House for nothing. I practically was doing Little House for nothing, but never mind. But, no, for your children, when you're the parent and these are your children, you want them to have the best of everything. You want them to have security, and this business is not secure at all. And no matter, you can be on top one day and you have nowhere to go but down. And it's just very, very, very. It can be very discouraging. And yet, like I said, you can be late as well. But it's not something that you want for your kids.
Little House on the Prairie was just here.
Oh, you mean the stage production? Right,
And so I've been reading through her book, and she's talking all about the craziness of all the Hollywood, relationships and all that. Do you get caught up in all that
Right. Well, my book, and I didn't read her book, to be perfectly honest, because I was.
She what?
That's good to know. I'm glad you know that. Yeah. Well, we always got along well. We weren't encouraged to be best friends because if we had been best friends, possibly we could have easily become enemies, and it would have, not maybe come off so well on screen. So, but we were always respectful. We always had fun. We never had any problems. But yeah, her book and my book, I know, are very, very different. I couldn't have written a book like that because, right? And to be honest, I don't like those books. I was trying to write a book, and I have nothing against her, but I was trying to write a book that I would like to read. I was trying to keep in my mind, what do people really want to hear? What do they want to, what do they want to read? Oh, thank you. And not just necessarily Little House fans. I figured I maybe have some fans that didn't watch the show, and also fans of the 70s and 80s. I tried to keep that in the back of my mind because I really wanted, I wanted it to sound like me. So, like, as I talk, I think you can hear me in the book. It's very, oh, good, because that's what I really wanted. And I realized that I've gotten some criticism for why in the world did she write a book? She doesn't say anything about her life. She doesn't say anything about her personal life. I do, but I really was writing a book about my life on Little House and the fact that I had a different kind of upbringing than a lot of other child stars. I was, more together. I guess my parents did a good job, and I was too afraid to get in trouble. So I don't have any horrible stories to tell. And I just think that, again, especially the way things are now, the economy and everything is so dismal that, it'd be nice to be able to see some kind of good story, Thank you. Well, I hope so. I mean, and also I've also been critiqued in a nice way that people feel like they're right there, like on my shoulder with me in something, and that was precisely what I wanted as well. I wanted people to feel part of the action and what was going on, and maybe that's a little different than some of the other books that have been written. And the other thing about writing the screenplay pages and things, that's to show you guys what we read, what it's like, and how it looks, and how it's always done, and it drives the publishers nuts. They're like, they don't have the formatting for that. It has to all be done by hand, and oh my gosh, they hated me for that. But it's fun, it's different, you know. And I was just trying to, and I didn't even think about it, book signings at that point, but it's worked out great. And see, I've gotten you guys involved, and so anyway. The back here. Yeah, one more, sorry.
That's all right. Over the past 20 years or so, it's been real interesting to me to see how many of the Little House cast have kind of re-embraced those years, kind of distanced yourself for a while. It was like, okay, that's past, and now it's kind of coming back again. Dean Butler's work and Melissa Gilbert's work with the House Musical, and now with your book, and it's just been real refreshing to continue the story that was happening back there in the 70s and early 80s. And I was wondering what your motivation was. It because everybody else was doing something, or had you already been brewing about this?
No, actually, like I kind of said before, I'm really not I didn't go to any of the reunions because a reunion to me isn't a reunion if Mike isn't there. Nothing against all the other people, but also, you know, I do live quite a ways away as well. And I never, ever thought about writing a book. Just never even occurred to me. But I was asked to write this, and you know, when I really carefully thought about it, I thought, you know, if it can be done, that would satisfy everybody, that the Little House fans would be happy, but that I would be happy, it would be told the way I wanted to tell it. Truthfully, it's all true, but you know, the way I wanted to tell it with a sense of humor. That sure, I'd love to. So I'm glad it all. It's just very funny that it's all happening at once. I guess it's just a trend. You know, it's one of those things that people are really interested right now. You know. So anyway, I'll sign. You.
Serve as the queen timekeeper, and I'm also going to serve as the queen of the line. So we have a number of people in the audience. It would work best if you will line up by row. So row one, if you will start and just come around toward Melissa.